What's going on, everyone? Today, I want to talk about a very interesting gubernatorial race that's going to occur in the state of Oregon. Now, if you watch my most recent video on the GOP candidates that I believe will be successful if they run for president, if they run for president in 2024, who would be most likely to win? That was just the first video on this political channel, and specifically, I talked about the state of Oregon probably towards the beginning-ish of the video. I believe I talked about the state, and the reason is because Oregon is having an election we don't see very often. And the reason I say that is because we have a few people I want to talk about for the governor race. First, I want to talk about the current incumbent governor of the state of Oregon, Kate Brown, who has assumed office I think for the past 2 or 3 election cycles. I think three because she can't. I don't. She's not running again. Um, I don't know. She might be doing something else in politics. I don't know. Nor do I really care. But she's off doing something else. So there's three people that are very important in the state of Oregon. What important's not the right word. It's more like prominent politicians or people running for this Oregon governor seat. There's one Republican and two Democrats. However, in the past, I would have said Oregon is going to go 100% for the Dems, and I still believe that in this next election cycle, it will probably go to the Democratic Party. However, up here. I'm going to make this a tilt blue state, and the reason is it's either going to be a tilt or a lean blue state, and it depends on a couple of factors. There are three people running for the state of Oregon. Well, I mean, there's more than three people running, but the most prominent people, if we can take a look over here, and we can take a look at the Oregon gubernatorial election, and we can see the list of governors here. We got the Democratic Party, we got the Republican Party, and then we have Kate Brown. So, the people I want to talk about today are Tina Kotek, who currently, I believe, is like I don't want to misspeak here, so we're gonna take a look. She's a member of the House of Representatives, and I'm pretty sure she's like the Democratic leader for the Oregon House of Representatives. Um, and then we have Betsy Johnson. Betsy Johnson is part of the Democratic Party. She says she's unaffiliated, or will announce that probably sometime in the spring. If you click on her name, it tells you that she's running unaffiliated. However, she tends to be more of a centrist Democrat. I still consider her a Democrat just because many of her ideologies tend to are part of the Democratic Party, and that's many people still consider part of the Democratic Party. And then we have, if we scroll down here, we have all these Republican candidates. We have all of these ones, but the one I want to focus on here is Mark Thielman. And the reason is because Mark has made probably the biggest impact that I've noticed in Oregon for Republican candidates, probably since that most recent election with Newt Buehler. Now, Newt Buehler came closer than I was expecting in the state of Oregon, because we can look at, let's see, I wonder if we can, yeah, we can see 2016, that was, we have Kate Brown as the incumbent Republican, Bud Pierce. You see the past elections in the state of Oregon. And the reason I want to focus on, what is it? What's his name? Mark Thielman and Kina Kotek and Betsy Johnson is because they are the most prominent people running for the governor seat in the state of Oregon. Now, a couple things to note here. Tina Kotek has been considered more of a progressive in the Democratic wing, a liberal wing of the Democratic Party. She tends to people consider her more progressive, if not more radical. And then you have Betsy Johnson, who is running more of a centrist. People consider her more centrist, but I'd say about 80 to 90% of the time she tends to vote with the Democrats, in comparison to the Republicans. And then we have Mark Thielman, who has made the biggest impact from as a Republican candidate currently in 2022. It is still a while till November, but it's good to get these kind of predictions out soon. Get these advertisements out of the way real quick. So, a couple of things to note here. A lot of people, I believe, that would vote for Betsy Johnson because of her more centrist beliefs would not vote for Tina Kotek because of her progressive, more radical beliefs. And it's going to be a three-way race. I believe if neither Tina nor Betsy concede that the Democratic vote will be split between the two, giving Mark Thielman a real chance at winning the gubernatorial seat. However, a lot of people that would vote for Tina Kotek would, if Tina conceded, would vote for Betsy Johnson just because she is part of the more of a she is the part of the Democrat or part of the Democratic Party, and they would most likely vote for her because they wouldn't vote for the other candidate or wouldn't vote for Mark Thielman. And that's kind of what I've been thinking lately, and it reminds me a lot of, I don't know if y'all remember back in 2016, Bernie Sanders was running. About 20, I think it was like 13 or 23% of his voters went over to Donald Trump's side because they did not want to vote for anyone else on the Democratic side. It would probably be similar here, except I believe the number would probably be more closer to 50 to 70% of Betsy Johnson voters actually voting for Mark Thielman, which would give Mark Thielman a real chance. However, also having the vote split would give Mark Thielman a real chance at winning the governor race. And we could see that the elections haven't been super haven't been a landslide. Now, 50% to 43%. That seems like a big margin, but when you look at it, that's a little over 100,000 votes. So, taking all of this into account, why did I put Oregon as a tilt blue state? I put Oregon as a tilt blue state mainly because I more than likely will go to the Democratic Party. However, I would not be surprised if it went to the Republicans. It'd be a very big win for Republicans actually in this area of the country, especially considering the whole West Coast tends to be very liberal, very Democratic. Washington, California, and Oregon tend to be vote the same way, and they have for like about a decade or two or so. The last time California had a Republican governor was with what was his name? He's an actor. Arnold Arnold was the most recent Republican California governor. So with all that in mind, Mark Thielman has a real shot at winning this seat in Oregon. He has a real chance. He also appeals to many school parents because he is a superintendent. I think he's like, I don't remember the area in which he is a superintendent, but he is a school superintendent, and people tend to like him because he works with both sides of the aisle. He works with both parties, and when both parties work together, they tend to favor that person. We've seen that in the past. People prefer a person that has the ability to work with all people, and that's what Mark Thielman has set out to do. He back when the riots were going on in Portland and stuff, Mark Thielman actually would go to Antifa, and he would, want to discuss things out, whatever, because he wanted to talk to the other side. He's not someone that shies away from the other side. He recognizes there is an opposition to his party, but he also wants to work things out with the other party if it's possible. So, he's running on a very similar campaign as Glenn Youngkin ran in Virginia. He's not running as a Trump Republican. He's running as a Republican that wants to make a difference in his state, especially when it comes to schooling. With him being a superintendent, it will appeal to a lot of school parents, especially in the Portland, Salem area, that tend to have I think it's It tends to be a younger generation in comparison to about the eastern southern part of the United States. So I think appealing to those parents will make a very big difference. And I think even to students or college students, I think versus just seeing another conservative, I think seeing his beliefs and his ability to work with both sides, I think will give him a tremendous edge over the Democrats, especially over Tina Kotek, because I don't think Tina has the ability to work with both sides of the aisle, considering her progressive beliefs and how radical she is. She tends to shy away from Republicans. And so I think that's kind of very important to think about. And Betsy Johnson, again running more of a centrist, I I think if it came down to Betsy Johnson, let's say Mark Thielman wasn't in the picture. Let's say it was Betsy Johnson and Tina Kotek. I believe Betsy Johnson would have the edge because of her centrist values, and she's not radical, and would part of the time work with Republicans. I think she would take the nomination and would take the seat over Tina Kotek. However, if the three of them are running at the same time, I honestly believe Mark Thielman will win the state of Oregon. But right now, as it stands, I'm still putting it as a tilt Democrat state, despite the fact that I believe Mark Thielman will win the state of Oregon. Just because when you look at the previous election cycle, you can look at how close it was. It was a little over 100,000 votes, about 120,000 or so. And when you take the split vote into account with Tina Kotek and Betsy Johnson, that pretty much puts Mark Thielman over pretty much puts him in the position to actually win the gubernatorial seat, which would be a very interesting change in political values in the state of Oregon. But it could also be said that not Betsy Johnson, but Tina Kotek has an edge over Betsy Johnson because Portland tends to have more progressive values and tends to favor progressive politicians. So that could also be a factor. I don't think it'll be enough to really shift it into Tina Kotek's favor. I think if Democrats want the best chance to win the state of Oregon, I think they should go with Betsy Johnson. I think Tina Kotek should let Betsy Johnson have the nomination. But even then, if Republicans want Mark Thielman to win, I believe that Betsy Johnson should concede because then I think a big portion of those votes will go over to Mark Thielman. And I think in the long run he would have the edge. So as it stands right now, and actually I'm going to change this to a tilt Republican state, just because of the current three-way race. This might change if one of them concedes and it becomes a two-way race. If it becomes a two-way race, then I will probably alter it a little bit and probably put it into the tilt, if not lean blue Democrat category. But as it stands right now, looking at the map, looking at the three-way race that is very predictable right now, I believe Mark Thielman will actually win the state of Oregon, similar to how Glenn Youngkin won the state of Virginia. Because a lot of people in Virginia that voted for Glenn Youngkin said they wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And it will probably be very similar to Oregon. A lot of people that will vote for Mark Thielman won't necessarily vote for Donald Trump. And because because the type of campaign that Mark Thielman is running is very appealing to many different kinds of people. I think he has a real chance at winning the state of Oregon, and it would be a very interesting dynamic change and political change in what is more considered a progressive state. And I also think with a lot of recent events in the state of Oregon, I think a lot of people will want a change in political values and leaders. So I think that Oregon, as it stands right now, will go to the Republican Party. So that's kind of what my take on Oregon is right now. That's what I believe will occur as it stands right now with the current events going on with the environment. I believe Oregon will go to the Republican Party. In the next video I'm going to discuss how I think each state specifically will go in terms of gubernatorial races, and then we will kind of discuss it from there. And I've watched a couple of these videos and I wanted to make my own because my opinions are obviously a little different from other people. So this is kind of what I believe Oregon will go. I guess we can also quickly take a look here. I think if we click here, no, that's not what I want. Let's see. Let's take a look here. If I look, nope, that's not what I want either. Still figuring this out. I've never used this before. Maybe. Let's take a look here at the map, and we can click on state legislators, and we can go to Oregon. Okay, so let's take a look here. What are the areas that will obviously, or that will most likely go Republican? The areas of Oregon that I believe will mostly go Republican would be Bend. Bend tends to be a more conservative area of town. I believe that this part of Eastern Oregon will also go for Mark Thielman. I believe that's the way it'll vote. I also believe the more northeast part will also go towards Mark Thielman, as well as the rest of these parts. Whoops. I believe this part will this will go to Oregon, or this will go to Mark Thielman. Excuse me. Now let's take a look quickly at the Portland metro area, because this tends to be the deciding factor of whether or not, or of tends to be the deciding factor of the outcome of a gubernatorial election. So because Portland metro, or the Portland metro area tends to have the highest population in, or for the state of Oregon, the majority of the population is concentrated in Portland and Eugene. That tends to be why it goes for the Democrats more often than not, even though the majority of the state of Oregon is Republican, but because of the population density in Portland and Salem tend to go for Democrats. So we got the whole Portland metro area here. I believe the majority of all of this will actually go for the um, what is it? The Democrat Party. I'm just gonna I'm gonna have everything here filled in. I don't believe there's gonna be a single area of the Portland area that's gonna vote in total for what do you call it? For Betsy Johnson, and I'm gonna say right now, I believe Betsy Johnson will be indeed the more likely Democrat to win over the two, if it still comes down to the three-way race. Medford, I'm gonna put it in the lean Republican category. Just because it has kind of gone both ways in recent gubernatorial elections. We got the Eugene metro area. Eugene and south of Eugene tends to be a more conservative part of the state. Um, so I'm going to consider these Republican. Now, there are obviously pockets of population that tend to vote more liberal, tend to vote more Democratic. And then we got the Salem metro area. This is a very interesting one because Salem, it doesn't have much of an influence as Portland, but it still has an influence to the point that could alter the election significantly. However, I'm going to put the northern part of Salem, whoops, in Betsy Johnson's favor. However, I'm going to put the southern part of Salem in Mark Thielman's favor. So looking at what we got here, we got Portland Metro, which tends to vote always in recent years Democratic, as well as Salem Metro, except for that southern little pocket there. And then we got Medford and Bend and Eugene that I am pretty confident will go for conservatives. And then we can take a look here and fill the rest of this map in. Obviously southern part of Oregon will all go red. This is what I think the map would look like. And I don't know if there's a way we can see previous election, kind of like, because I'm kind of curious, like, if we look at, well, that's not what I want. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can see, I'm trying to see if, like, there's a way I can, like, see whether or not, is it maybe in the sidebar area? It's not in the sidebar area. I just want to know if, like, I can see the way the past elections have gone. I guess not. Which I was hoping I would be able to, like, see, that the way Hmm. There's the 2022. There's the national. There we go. Here. Okay. So okay, we can look. Take a look here. And well, actually, I don't think this will really. I don't. Yeah. No. If I click, because if I click this, it's just gonna show the governors versus. I just want the single state, but I don't. I guess I can't get that. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to get that. I'm just not paying attention. We got the state legislators, which is y'all know what that is. You guys say historical. That's the presidential. I want congressional. No, I don't want congressional. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to see whether or not, with the way they voted in the past. But there's gonna be a couple of changes because I know this section tends to be blue. I'm gonna put some of these in red because of the who Mark Thielman really appeals to, and I'm gonna put the northern part up here red, mainly because Mark Thielman is well. I'm gonna put like Washington County and Multnomah County in favor of Mark Thielman. And I believe this because of the people he appealed to in the high number of parents that I know care about, school choice. Um, and then obviously as we get closer to the kind of the whoops, we get closer to the Portland area, I will kind of put this here. Actually, I'm going to make all of this right here. If we go here, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Let's go here. So this is kind of what the election cycle looks like. In my opinion, obviously it can change, and I wouldn't be surprised if it changed. However, because of the current people that Mark Thielman really appeals to, I believe he has a real chance here, and I believe he would have the slight edge over Betsy Johnson or over Tina Kotek. So that's kind of where I'm at with the state of Oregon. Now, feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Obviously, I'm not like super crazy knowledgeable about this, but this is kind of trends I've been noticing. And I also kind of have done a bit of research into Mark Thielman in terms of like the kind of people he appeals to. Likewise, Betsy Johnson, and I know Tina Kotek tends to would be very favorable in the Portland metro area just because of her radical progressive beliefs. So that's kind of where we're at there. So in the next video, I will go over the gubernatorial seats that I believe will become the I believe will determine or not determined, but the seats that I believe will go either Republican or Democrat. So that's kind of what I have there, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys did enjoy the video, please leave a like and comment down below what you agree with, what you disagree with, if there's anything you would change, and also feel free to subscribe. I'm kind of very excited to do this kind of stuff. I've been wanting to do it for a while, so this is kind of where I'm at. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a fantastic rest of your day.